Hi Leo, this is your May 2024 Taurus season reading, post-eclipse reading. All information to work with me one-on-one is below reading. No, I'm just kidding. The Patreon link will be in the first link below. That is, and usually comes out, I've been getting it up about 24 hours after this initial reading comes out. Give it about 48 though, just in case. And let's get started. Oh. Popping and jumping out is you, baby. You. It looks like you are jumping out of a situation. Wow. I kind of just want to hold these up for a second. Regardless if it's physical, that may come in the future, the physical change, but this is a significant mental shift. There's something that has been recently exposed to you about yourself, about how you relate to people, work with people, manage your relationships. This is about you being who you are, right? So the Sun card too, it's about, you know, who's around, who enjoys when you're also joyful, right? It is about who's there for you when you're not, yada yada, but this is about you and also being happy to see what you need to see, being happy to be like courageous enough, brave enough, strong enough, feel like a kid enough, flexible enough is what I mean, that you have this ability to move beyond this now, move past this now, move with this now. You're taking whatever information you have with you, whatever information that is important, whatever it is that you need. You almost feel like, for some of you, you may also do some reflection. And you need to be careful, of course, because he is not looking forward and he has a bunch of swords in his hand. And you feel like you got away with something, perhaps. You know, we'll circle back to that in a second. And where you're going, where you're headed, has a lot of energy. For some of you, there may be even a vengeance. Does that work well in the end? Well, you can get burnt more than you may have anticipated, but if that's the way you want to go with it, that's the way you can go with it. It's possible that you just may need to drop a few more things. You need to travel lightly. I also said that to another sign, which is funny. But you may need to travel more lightly to have more coverage. If you want to spread yourself thin, right? You don't want to do that. But if you want to have more room, more space, more time to roam, you may need to pack lightly. What does that mean, right? What does that mean mentally? There's one thing that can be very simple and simply put in front of you, but it may be coming in so harsh, so quick that you are maybe avoidant of it, right? You'd rather just take these things and go instead of just facing what's coming to you. And it's like, okay, well, is Leo not confrontational? Is Leo, I wouldn't say Leo is anti-confrontation. I think that it really depends. I think if it's impeding enough, right? If it's impeding enough, then you will. However, when you've learned that skill and you've learned that art as a Leo, which you do, I have all the faith in you and you know how to talk to people. This is something you need to address. This could be with Pluto sitting across from you now as well, especially if you're a Leo, sun, rising, moon. It's sitting across from you in this way and exposing you, right? Exposing you to yourself, of course, And you're also revealing to yourself what it is that you, again, what it is yourself. Some of you are going to be like, you're repeating yourself. Well, some of you need to hear it in this way. When you are yourself as you are, and you have a situation that's happening, you can surprise yourself with how you act sometimes. You think you might act one way, or you would want to act a certain way, and then sometimes you don't. You're not the only sign who does it. Usually, that means there's something underneath it within you that you haven't really seen or experienced yet. And it also could be a sense of protection, right? For what's the unpredictable. You're not used to mystery, but you're also used to having some kind of experience in the matter, right? But when you haven't been able to respond in these ways or do something ever, then you will feel a sense of, I don't know what's the outcome's going to be. I don't know what's on the other side. This is saying that was what's on the other side through this, because this looks like the reason why this is maybe so heavy on your mind, because at first you're kind of like, okay, what is the situation? You know, like, what is it that is stopping Leo or potentially disrupting your path here, or disrupting you from being you, right? And Taurus season's coming in. You guys have your similarities for sure, but your fixed signs, that's the main one. But you're also very, for other people, they're uncomfortable with you. This is a Taurus thing too. They can be very uncomfortable because they know how you respond, but when they haven't met you in this way yet, they don't know you. They don't know when you set a meeting with you, or you sit down to talk business, or when you sit down to talk about this, they don't know what's beyond the person who has the light, or has the attention, or is the performer, or is that people person, right? What happens then? Because when they haven't seen you with the situation like this, it can be surprising. Why do I say that? Well, you may be surprised by yourself this month. So in one turn, you're like, okay, so I'm surprised by myself by the way I didn't react or respond. And then I find out that maybe even just a moment, a day, a week later, why? It was more important. There's an instinctual aspect to this now that you are going to understand throughout the next 20 years. That wherever the work is, you're also going to be shown what's more transformational, what's more transformational perhaps, right? So this is like for a long period of time, and if you're not listening, right, or you're not listening, or someone else isn't listening to the extent of, you know, one side of you, right? We all have these polarities, right? This is my favorite. And I was just reminded of this today. Like, we all have these polarities that if we add to it, it then accentuates it or cancels it out, and vice versa. So if you add the opposite to something, it should, you know, cancel it out, but sometimes it amplifies it instead. And that's what they say in Ayurveda, but that's also physics. So cool. And judgment, the judgment card, right? So you're not taking a back seat, if that's what you're thinking, to your life at all, actually. And I don't know enough about this, but what I do know is that the submissive is always actually in charge. It's always actually is the boss. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you're really becoming that version of yourself even more, because this, whatever the situation, it needs to happen, there needs to shed light on it. It looks like it's just you in making an individual of yourself from the greater community, you know, you making a point to family, community, the people around you, that there is still and will always be an individual within you. Now if I think of Okay, so yeah, so in your house, yeah, yep. Sorry, I'm still learning, and which we'll get more into the second part even more. But in your 9th house right now of philosophy and the way you look at life and the way you see life, your views, whatever. Aries is occupying that if you have a normal non-complex chart, but either way, in whole sign houses, you will have this amplified of Aries energy right now in that particular space, and you want to communicate it. That is what this is. There's a communication that's happening on many different levels, and it's almost an echoing out into the world. And it's about how you are shifting the view of traditional value. Shifting the view of you is shifting, and it's possible that there will be people who pop in like, oh my god, I haven't heard from you, or I haven't seen you in a while, and here you are, like, I see you, I hear you, I'm listening, I'm enjoying, I'm noticing, and then you'll have, those others, right? So the 9 of Cups is the growth in this new way, right, of looking at things, of new way, or a change or a shift even, is that, and this is very much Taurus season, is this non-attachment, and we've talked about this, right, a lot this year, this non-attachment to some of the outcomes, or especially emotionally, like emotional outcomes, anything where you had to put effort into the things that you have created, the stuff, the life, the way you work in the world, how you've created that on your own, and how you can stand before it, right? Sorry, this is getting in my face. How you can stand before it. That it's really this stubbornness that is being accentuated in your life. It's really important that you find a way to be flexible, because you want flexibility from other people, correct? Right? That's what the first part of the month is. It's this flexibility, this ability to have ease in that way, where you have to understand that even like for this period of time, for this block of time, you may need to be more flexible. So you need to understand that when you come up against thing after thing, reflecting on your week to week basis, month to month, if that is more feasible or makes more sense for you, every 6 weeks, like have it in your plan to give yourself a reflection of everything that you've been doing and how you've been flexible to yourself, and how are flexible with life, and how you can also now do that for yourself. What does that look like? That means taking care of whatever internally comes up by externally giving so much, right? That's maybe an extra nap somewhere, or an extra few minutes of sleep, or maybe you're someone who really does need to cater to your body and you need to get in that yoga, and you say, you know what, I need the sleep, however, I know my body needs this to sleep better, right? So those are just very simple explanations of like, maybe I need to do a certain routine for myself or clear my emotions. One of my favorite things is waking up, and if I'm foggy, is just like, if I had a dream or if I had a thought about something, is just to get it out of me, right? Like do my morning routine, which is like brush my teeth, all my hygiene stuff, and then sit down before I do any movement and just like even pull a card to pull something out of me. That's something I've practiced on and off for years. There are times where I went through it a lot more, and maybe you find something that can help you do that, or you sit with art, or you read a little, and that's art, sitting with art, right? So whatever it is that you're being stubborn about has this attachment to it, to your value, to what that is. You may have a traditional look on how you make money, and that's what you're being being shown at this time, is that if you want to have this more independent view of yourself, or you want to recreate that somehow and you want to put energy and effort into it, there's also some huge pattern that's ending and a huge pattern that's starting, and what the first thing it starts to show you as, because I think it's funny how when people, and maybe we should talk about it more, when you start to enter, when you're closing a process and entering a new one, when you close it, it feels good at the final end where you're like, oh my God, I just got through all of that. And then when you open something, you're being open, but you're also seeing what it's going to take. So things will come your way where it's like, are you sure? You know, are you sure? Because your past is still technically there. Nothing cuts off. The energy is still lingering. It's like this pull. And you can feel the release of it all, but it's not hard for something to come right back in and be like, yo, you said you were done. Everything. How do you really feel? And when you integrate, right, when you integrate certain lessons and certain themes in your life, it's not that hard because you just respond differently. It's instinctual. Mars and Aries. And so what's instinctual, what's going to become instinctual is something that is so easy for you to do maybe for others, or for even for yourself in certain ways, but this is on maybe a deeper level where you're even needing to advocate for yourself at this time. The Tower season, or the Tower season, the Tower card pops out. Could be a time where you change, or you have, whether you have a legit career direction, whether you're, you know, working and still searching for that, whatever career is to you, or purpose, life path, whatever it is, this is what's getting in the way of it. This is what's causing that Tower moment. Because for some of you, I do also want to relate this to love. There's some of you that are getting out of a situation that you were scared of leaving because you need enough resources, perhaps, and it's not necessarily monetarily, like you need like your mental stability, again, maybe your sleep. However, you are being called to reflect too, maybe on a little bit more than just a few months, to make you realize how strong and capable you really are. And I think sometimes it could be that you're afraid to take a look at that because you like some of the freedoms that you have with this particular relationship or situation. You like the enjoyment. There's something about it that has this joyful and happy perspective. And you realize, and this could just be overcoming a mental block. This doesn't have to be legit a relationship, but it's maybe within the relationship with yourself. But this could be a physical thing as well for some of you. Again, this is general, and I do feel both of that for Leo right now, that there is on a layers. Some of you are doing this physically, some of you are doing this mentally. Overall, emotionally, you are very capable. You are very available, and you also get a chance to be held in that way. It seems as though that whichever way you're directing this, so you know my kitty is playing while we're doing this, she is playing. And so what this time has showed you is that maybe, you know, maybe this is not what you are looking for. This is maybe the traditional way of doing things only can get you so far. And you can be comfortable with that. You can live your life like that, but you may have at this time of, you know, ninth house is also existential, right? It's like that, the philosophy, right? You're in this place of like, well, what if I don't? You may be questioning, well, what if I never do? You know, you may go into this, what people don't know about Leo, and I think that when you have a matured or a Leo that has, you know, also other placements helping this, or a certain life that a Leo had to live, there's some Leos that are they have their life. And then there's other Leos that have their life, but they also know their culture, right? They love culture. And why am I saying this is because you're in the mode, you almost been waiting to get to a place where you can actually feel the existential in the world as well, and how like it can feel that way, and how you even feel it within yourself. And then you're on this path, and it's almost like, you know, you've just discovered psychedelics for the first time or some shit, or maybe you're meditating more and that's pulling it out of you, and you're wondering like, well, could I make this work? Could this be possible? What is happening? Do I have the support I need? Well, there may have been something you thought about a month ago or something that came up during the Libra eclipse, and it excited you. You gave some thought to it, that gave some wind to it, and now it's resurfacing itself, and it will again resurface itself throughout the Gemini transits and Gemini season. This is you recreating maybe what is for you, right? There could be the moment where you realize, you know, this needs to change. I can't be this stubborn. This can't only be this way. A shift needs to happen. A conversation needs to happen. If things aren't, you know, if you can't see eye to eye, then it may be that you come into this whole new situation, right? For some of you, this is going to bring your relationship closer together. This is going to reveal a greater love, a connection that is spiritual between you two. However, I wouldn't expect it to be something, it's like a trip. It is like a psychedelic trip. I wouldn't expect it to be life-changing unless you're both in that place. It may be for you, but don't take it personal if the other person doesn't reflect. I know that you don't always do that, but reflect the same experience, because you've shown up in a lot of ways, and yet you need to allow the emotional intelligence that you're learning to now grow with you. And so being rigid is only going to create a bigger, more dramatic change. But some of you do need that in your life to show you what it is that you've been waiting on, holding back, or preparing for. Because again, depending on who it is, you're going to be in a different cycle of this. You also may, through this, you also may learn, and things may be revealed, and things have been revealed a lot since, you know, the last month. You may need time to process, to take it in, to breathe, to digest it, but I think you're surprised again at yourself of what comes out of you. You know, this is a level up moment for your self-confidence. Like, well, Leo has self-confidence, yes, but it's a very internal thing, and even your greatest asset will ask you if you're sure sometimes. Will have you double down, right? Have you really stand in what you say, really stand in who you are, really stand in it all, and then at the same time you're like asking me to be flexible. If you stand in your greatest values, the flexibility, there's anger, of course that's a boundary, but you can still be flexible and have principle, of course. You can still be flexible and have a great time, right? You can set the stage for an amazing party. You can set the stage for an amazing scene. But it all comes down to where you're at that day, right? The whole mix of events and how that party plays out. You know, you do maybe want to talk to everyone. You maybe want to be social, but at the same time, you're not responsible for how every person and what they're feeling and what they're doing and how they're experiencing their life, right? You're not responsible for that. You know that. But there is a part of you that, of course, wants people to have a good time. And that is beautiful because it's not just you wanting to have a good time. I also know that's a very, very surface level explanation, but it's true. It's like, it's more than that though, like, because you do want everyone to have a good time. You want people to feel cared for. You want to be able to meet everyone and show up and be the thing. But right now, even having these two major arcanas at the end of the month will be a little bit more mysterious. Now, going back to the mystery, wasn't expecting all this, but you will go back to that moment because the Tower moment is going to show you, right? It's going to reveal what is now being presented to you and what is now being presented to you. Your relationship with spirit can become new, right? Maybe this is a very spiritual time. Your love, your relationship to love. That's what this is. I'm like looking at these cards and I'm like, Your relationship to love is really what you're coming to. And maybe that's what you start to philosophize. Not with any ending, but you start to see like what your dynamic in love is. The sun is the heart. So, Leo rules Leo and the sun, heart in the back. And what is this spontaneous yet mysterious, but also could have felt coming slightly but just didn't want to see it thing that happens, but you're also prepared for what you're saying and doing and hearing. You just weren't maybe prepared for the amount of stubbornness you would receive in return, right? Whether it's you or the other person or both of you. Which is funny because the King of Swords sits in front of a butterfly, which has once been something now and now is something else. I mean, right? So whatever it was, if you're able to see beyond and see past. It's funny because I was saying this to another sign too. We were talking about it a little bit like this, and it was Pisces. It's not about seeing, like, ignoring your present or ignoring your past. You're not doing any of that right now. Actually, you're pretty much addressing it, and you kind of have to, because the universe is like, hey, judgment card here. You have to do this before you do that, and you may be scared to even go there yet because you're still here. But you have to remember that looking in your life and looking down the road, if you don't want to be back here, there has to be changes, of course. So being able to support your vision, support what you want, support your relationships, what your relationship to love is, what your relationship to creating love is, right? Not just creating, but creating love, right? These aspects and these double sides of things too, because we talk a lot about Gemini being the two sides. Everyone has two sides, but like in tarot, in the shadow, in all of this, Libra, Gemini, and Pisces all have the double edges, double sides, even in their symbolism. So you're seeing maybe double standards, double sides of things. You're able to have that experience. You're able to understand. You're able to see. There's it's because you're emotionally equipped, right? Sometimes when we can't visualize or see things, or we don't want to go somewhere, we don't want to see another perspective right now about this thing that we have once felt hurt because we can't see it. We're only seeing it from that place. There's an integration that's happening that's allowing all of this to come up. Because like we'll always say, and I'll always say, is that nothing can come up until it's supposed to. You can't recognize things until you recognize them. Other people can do it for you, but other people can do it for them too. This is about you. This is about you and how you've been processing what you've been going through, and now you are being given time and space to communicate that, right? Mars is like, you can do all of this now. You can do this with yourself first, and then it will echo out. I like the echo. And what we'll get more into what all of this is. Pluto is showing up here. You are showing up here. These other people are showing up here. Gemini season's already coming through, right? It's like you're already on to the next, but this is a nurturing for you and how you're seen in the world, right? 10th house, Taurus. How you're seen in the world. Your career. Hey, how about that? Intuition, baby, intuitive, all of it. And we'll get into everything in the next part. I'll see you there. It's below. Check it out. Check out the previous ones from recent months if you want to have, if you have any interest in taking a deeper look into what May and Taurus season have in store for you. Okay, Leo? We'll see you soon.